恭敬大德圣情，为此发挥其一切众生，请转妙法文教导我们，如何了生脱死离苦得乐，速增无生。Will the Sangha with great virtue, out of compassion, for the sake of this assembly and all living beings, please turn the wonderful Dharma wheel to teach us how to leave suffering and birth and death, and quickly realize non-birth.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Namo saranto suchedoye olahuri sanmiao sanputoshe.
Namo saranto suchedoye alahari samya sambuddhoshe.
无上甚深微妙法，百千万劫难遭遇。我今见闻得受持，愿皆如来真实义。Can we do it from memory now, do you think? It's different from the page. Let's see if we can do it in unison. Ready? Starts with Supreme. Ready? Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered, even in 1,000,000 eons. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. Venerable Master and Dhamma friends, welcome to our Sutra lecture tonight. This should be the 17th of June, and we are creeping up on the summer solstice, and we'll be there in just a few days. That's the turning point of the year, midpoint, and that verse that we just recited, some from memory, some lost in it, not yet unfamiliar. We're redoing our chanting sheet, our preparation liturgy. So that will be on the page soon, so you can read it as well as take it off your ears. All right? So that's coming up soon. So welcome everybody who's online, and that's an increasing number of folks who don't leave the comfort of their own den and their own computer chair in order to take in the lecture. And, why not? That's definitely the way we're moving. And I can't speak because that was me in that chair just a few weeks ago, across the planet and down under. I was a virtual monk from Australia giving a lecture, much less listening to the lecture. So people are more and more staying away and tuning in online. So it's futile for me to say that's a bad idea, don't do that. No, it's not a bad idea. As I say, I can't poke a finger, can't point a finger. It's nice to have people here in person. You can absorb the Dharma off your computer screen, off your iPod, pad, off your phone. It's not quite the same as being here, however. And Master Hua would say that the three jewels, the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, really come when we go Gong Qing Da De, will the Sangha with great virtue, they really come. And people who are here taking part in that request get the blessings. Now, the question would be, if you're online, do you still get the blessings? Can't answer that. I don't know. Do the Bodhisattvas have broadband? I suppose. Do they have a, what is it? What would it be for a Bodhisattva? Not gov. Spirit. What would it be? Consciousness. No, it's what's their URL? .con, not com, but con for consciousness, right? Yeah, .shen, S-H-E-N, that's what it would be. So I don't know. If you're watching online, do you still get the blessings of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas that you do if you're here in person? Just for fun, how many people think yes? True faith. Okay, you didn't realize you're being asked. A true Democrat. I like that spirit, Roberto. Question is, okay, Master Hua, we'll just, don't take it from me, take it from our teacher. He said, if you ru fa, according to the Dharma, using the old methods, request the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas to come. We just did it, right? Jason walked around with the incense, we all put our palms together silently, and I was doing my part, and he was doing his. Will the Sangha, right? He said, if you do that, according to Dharma, the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas come. Because why? First of all, their bodies pervade empty space everywhere, and they're waiting for people to make the request. They're just hoping that people will request. Of course they're going to respond. So, that's what he said. Okay, take it or leave it. What about people who are watching this lecture online, and who are very sincerely, right in front of their computer, like, do they also, is the question. Hands up again? Yes, they also get the blessing. Okay, no, probably not, because it's not the same. Okay, we got two. Undecided. Depends on the person. So in other words, there we go, right? Yeah, okay. So more people think. Yes, question?
Well, this is a statement. I have my own experience doing silent meditation with a jamgram on the computer. He's in Australia, and it didn't make any difference. I was, went through everything that I would go if he was right first.
So, Roberto's testimony is that while doing a silent meditation, when the leader of the meditation was in Australia and he was in California, it was as if he were right there. There was no difference. Okay, probably, hold that thought, don't go away. Probably it would be the case, for us to think that somehow the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas' reach is limited by 30,000 miles, that's lack of faith. Graciela.
I think the biggest thing is I don't think the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas or our spiritual practice are confined to constructs, mind constructs. So I think what is most important is the person's sincerity and their intent. And so
Hold on one second. We want everybody to hear. Yeah, we want everybody to hear. Go ahead.
Okay, but I think for me it's just more the person's sincerity and their intent, because they're taking that time out. They can be doing so many other things on the side, but they're sitting there listening. And I just remember when I had to move back to Fresno and you were lecturing on the Bodhisattva precepts, and I listened and I was sincere, and immediately within a week or something they were doing the Bodhisattva precepts at the temple. And I went, and it was from a lecture that I had heard online. So,
And then you were really crying because it was so bad. Right? No.
But
Okay.
I
Yeah.
received the same kind of experience as if I was right there.
So Graciela's point is sincerity and intent. Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are not a mind construct. I like that. Yes, Roberto.
My experience is that there is no here and there.
No here and there. Actually, our sutra tonight says that. So, yeah.
All right. There is no here and there.
Okay. So now these are strong statements of faith and insight into what is the actual presence of the Buddha. It's not faith. It's certainty. It goes beyond faith. No doubt. Doubt free. Okay, I got it. So that's good to hear, that people are, this is the water we swim in. So, I tend to agree, and yet I have to encourage people to actually get their bodies into the Buddha hall. Just stay home, it's the same. It's like, no good. Sir?
I have another experience with...
One more mic back there, please.
Okay. I had another experience, but this time with a Hindu teacher.
A Hindu teacher.
And he was in Tiruvannamalai, in Tamil Nadu. And I found out that he was going to have some satsangs and so on. And it was broadcast live. And it happened that those particular broadcasts were at 8:30 my time. So, perfect. So I said, well, okay, I listen to what he has to say. Listen to what he has to say. I was there. So it's not even restricted to Buddhism or Hinduism or anything. If it's going to come, if you're going to feel it,
Okay.
there is no here and there. And that is in the suttas.
There we go. Now, this is available for those of you online. If you go to berkeleymonastery.org, and our tech team, in a moment, will put that link into the chat box so that people who would like to look at the text while you're online can find it there. We're getting dialed in now, so that will be coming up soon. If you have the text in your hand, we're going to be chanting the name of the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas there in the front. Namo Dafang Guangfo Huayan Jing Huayan Haihui Fo Pusa. Namo Dafang Guangfo Huayan Jing Huayan Haihui Fo Pusa. Namo Dafang Fo Huayan Jing Huayan Haihui Fo Pusa. Namo Dafang Guangfo Huayan Jing Huayan Haihui Fo Pusa. Namo Dafang Guangfo Huayan Jing Huayan Haihui Fo Pusa. Nam Dafang Guangfo Huayan Jing Huayan Haihui Fo Pusa. Namo Dafang Guangfo Huayan Jing Huayan Haihui Fo Pusa. Okay, tonight we are going to dive into the actual first teaching for the 8th ground. We've had the request complete last week, and now we're getting the first words of the 8th ground. Following this, we're going to do a song that was written by Marty, Professor Verhoeven, when he was in the guise of Heng Sure. It's in the songbook. We'll get there in a bit. It's a wonderful song, and I want everybody to get to know it, sing along. Then we'll have some announcements of events coming up, and that will be our lecture. So, appreciation to our tech team, by the way, who are vigorously, tirelessly, week after week, getting us out online and archiving this lecture, making it possible for me to be heard by all of you. And it's nobody's making money in this project. It's completely a labor of love and good, kind-hearted, generous volunteers. So we appreciate that. We're on page 6 and 7 at the very bottom. You don't have the locations of the people who are on the chat, right, or who are tuning in? Because I know we've had some folks who've returned from Australia, which means 12:30. It's now 12:50 in Australia in tomorrow, right? It's the 18th there, and they have had a morning of meditation. They've eaten a vegetarian lunch, and they've come back to listen to the sutra. So appreciate that support, and hope that people will ask questions and type them into the chat box. Jerry will pass them over to me, and we'll keep the conversation moving forward. Okay, bottom 2 lines in the Chinese. Last 2, starting with 20. Okay, ready? I'll give them to you. You give them back. 20. 金刚藏菩萨 告解脱乐菩萨言 佛子 菩萨摩诃萨 于七地中 善修习 方便会 Good, good. Okay, over to the right. Let's read it together, everybody. Ready? Together? Just then, Vajra Treasury Bodhisattva said to Moon of Liberation Bodhisattva, disciples of the Buddha, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva on the 7th ground is able to achieve the wisdom of blessings and virtue because he has skillfully cultivated expedient wisdom. Okay, that's enough for now. As we turn the page, we're going to continue finding out more about this Bodhisattva. And tonight's passage is just a long description of this remarkable Bodhisattva. It's what do they say? It's a laundry list. It's a long list of unusual, remarkable qualities that this being has cultivated now in the 8th ground. 7th ground, not the same. 6th ground, even less. 5th, 4th down. But we're now in the 8th ground. There's the 8th ground, the 9th ground, the 10th ground, and then he's almost a Buddha. This is the top of the ladder, right? This Bodhisattva's been going up rung by rung for a long time, maybe lifetimes, and he or she really close to the top now. So we're going to hear about what it's like to be an 8th ground Bodhisattva. Okay. Now, it's funny. I almost switched into Chinese just now. 我们现在这位菩萨，八地菩萨呢? No, you don't have to do that right now. That's okay. That's tomorrow, and it was today. We were just down in San Jose just this afternoon, in a group that was the bicultural bilingual, and everybody was speaking both languages, and it's a good habit to have both. But tonight we're going to deeply enter through the English language door. What is it? Just then, Arsher, right then, or next, translated as next, or then, Vajra Treasury Bodhisattva, who is the speaker of the text. He's the one who knows how to cultivate it. Said to Moon Liberation Bodhisattva, who asked. Moon Liberation Bodhisattva asked the question on behalf of everybody. His question was, how do we cultivate the 8th ground? How do we learn what you want to teach us? So he says, disciples of the Buddha, that would include all of us present, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva on the 7th ground, okay, that's the one we just finished. 7th ground Bodhisattva has what? He has, now there's a trick here, because why? In order to do the Chinese, to do it in order and make sense in English, we had to bring a sentence up from the middle of the paragraph. And the sentence in the middle of the paragraph is, can get the wisdom of blessings and virtue. That's in the Chinese, it's way down. But we brought it up because English requires that to get the cars and the train lined up behind the engine, right? What's it like? Think about, we're translators, and so this is how we talk about translation. If the sentence is going to talk to you and make sense, here's a sentence, right? What does it say? It needs some pieces. It's got to have an engine. If it were a train, it would have an engine. What's the engine? The verb. The verb is choo, 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 right? And that's the engine. It pulls the train. Without the engine, the train, no meaning, right? The other parts of speech are the cars and the train. So we had to bring the engine up from the center of the Chinese paragraph because Chinese syntax works differently, the way you build a sentence. So, on the seventh ground, the Bodhisattva can achieve the wisdom of blessings and virtue. What does that mean? It means this person is outstanding. Okay. What experience do we all share? Every one of us here. I don't think anybody is not. We've all been to school. We've all spent time in a classroom. Whether it was in Vietnam, whether it was in Parlier, whether it was in, Toledo, whether it was in Taipei or Hsinchu or Zhanghua, wherever we were, we've all been in a classroom, and there was one or two people in that classroom who were like the smart ones, and you hated them, right? Like, because they always call on me, at first, before you even understood that they were like, like that. Outstanding people. Or it wasn't when it was smarts time, it was athletic time, right? They were what they call early bloomers, and they were bigger and stronger than the rest of the class, and so when it was volleyball time or rope climbing, you all climb ropes in high school, in high school gym class? We did, and I slipped from the top and burned the skin off my hands coming down. I'll never forget that. Anyway, there was always somebody in class who was bigger and faster and stronger. And you hated them because they were better. And, kids, just like any other being, we want to know who's the boss, who's the alpha. We kind of rub our shoulders until we discover who's going to lead, and then we follow. Dogs do it, wolves do it, birds do it, people do it. Okay, this bodhisattva is one of those people, but you don't hate them. They're just the best. They are outstanding, right? Why? They have cultivated the wisdom of blessings and virtue. What's the Chinese? We'll turn over just so you can see it in the Chinese. It's 能成就福德智慧，就反过来，如果要找， it's down in the bottom, next to the last line of that paragraph. They're able to bring about blessings, virtue, wisdom. Okay, so giving you the picture of somebody in your class who was the outstanding one, either smartest, biggest, strongest, fastest, whatever. Maybe there was a kid in your class who was just the best, just good, I remember my experience in school was pretty rough. It wasn't, there wasn't a lot of points given for being good. You had to, if you were bad, you get points. Eddie Jacobs. Eddie turned out to be a really beloved high school science teacher. I shouldn't talk about his childhood. Eddie Jacobs. He was the guy who taught me how to smoke cigarettes. Oh yeah. And Eddie turned his collar up, and he put heel plates on the heels of his shoes so that when he walked down the high school corridor, he could go click, 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 click. Turned his collar up, click, click. That was Eddie. And we wanted to be like him so bad. We all wanted to be, and Eddie wouldn't easily let you into the gang. He'd let a lot of that kind of. So you had to be tough and cool to be accepted by Eddie, Anyway, and Eddie went, yes, he did go to reform school briefly, But juvie, it's called, right? But he turned out to be a beloved high school science teacher. Eddie turned around, and he's a fine man. But at the time, Eddie was that kind of guy. And, we always wanted to be with him. And he was trying to be bad. I mean, he was as bad as he could be without getting expelled from school, right on the edge all the time. If anybody was sent to the office, it was Eddie, And we were, oh my goodness, our schools definitely, you got whacked. That was the phrase, right? It was not a time when children were, what's the word? It's illegal now, right? What's the rule? If a teacher touches a child in anger or discipline, that he can be sued, right? Definitely, huh? Criminal, yeah, the principal. If you got sent to the principal's office, we would hear it down the hall. Whack! And he actually drilled holes in the paddle, right? So move a little faster in the air. And we would hear Eddie get whacked, and we'd all kind of go, And then he was even cooler than before because he took the whacks without crying or whatever, because it was painful, Public school in Toledo. So anyhow, my point is, rarely does anybody get noticed for being good. Who in your class had the best heart? Who was the kindest? No points awarded for being kind, right? Jin Hosher? Most courteous boy. You won the certificate. Congratulations. Wow, we'll never let you forget that from now on. That's good. Say again? You did award certificates. That's great. Did your mom keep it? The certificate? Sure she did. There's probably a whole drawer full of that kind of stuff.
I don't think I said I got a certificate.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, that's what I heard. Okay. So, all right. So, in Jin Hosher's school in Kuala Lumpur? Or Ibao? I don't remember which one. Which city? Okay, but in the school system, there were awards for most courteous. And the kid who got it, did people look down on him or hate him? Or did they respect him? Because okay, why do I ask? It was a good thing to be given. Okay, because in the National Hockey League, in the NHL, there's a trophy given for fewest penalty minutes. I think it's the Lady Stanley Trophy. Any Canadians here? Fabrizio, are you online? Who's a Canadian? There's a trophy given in the National Hockey League for best player because by fewest penalty moments. Nobody wants it. Everybody hates that. If you get it, you're like, you got to go out and be bad just so you don't get that trophy. The Lady Hope something trophy, every year, awarded to the cleanest player, which is a bad thing, So anyway, how strange, right? Here is someone who is known for goodness. 福德智慧，成就福德智慧. Okay? Now, that's the verb that pulls the train of this paragraph. And we had to rebuild it with all the other, because there's a long, long list of qualities that this Bodhisattva has. But he is able to achieve the wisdom. We say he got the wisdom of blessings and virtue because, here's the object of the sentence, because he skillfully cultivated expedient wisdom. All right. We learned that in the seventh ground. That was the whole title of the seventh ground, was Fangbian Zhihui. Okay? What is Fangbian Zhihui? We learned about that. It's this Bodhisattva can teach according to how people can learn. That's what it is. Not the same way twice. And the Fangbian part, the expedient part, means he looks and he sees, oh, this person is a good athlete, so I'm going to get out and challenge him to a game of horse or pig. And we're going to do one-on-one. We're going to stand back behind the keyhole and do Steph Curry three-pointers from downtown, He sinks another one from downtown. That's how they announced Steph Curry, this man from Walnut Creek, who has changed the face of professional basketball because he's the best shooter anybody's ever seen. He can stand back, for example, if the basket is the clock, you ever see the clock on the thing? Through the basket, swish. So that's how you teach somebody who is an athlete. But if you have somebody who's bookish, who's a poet, the ability to shoot free throws, that's not significant. So what do? You memorize poetry and teach them that way. And the point of it is to bring everybody back to themselves, back to their own mind. So that's Fangbian Zhihui. The Bodhisattva can do that in 1,000 ways. 1,000 people, there's 1,000 ways. Okay? Language is the first one, right? If the person speaks Vietnamese, you don't speak to them in Spanish. And if they speak Spanish, you don't speak to them in Polish, That's one. And right away, one of the things we found out about the seventh ground was the Bodhisattva is very good at cultivating all the different skills. Where did he learn those? Remember the fifth ground? Di Wu Di. What was the fifth ground? It was about samadhi, about meditation. Fifth ground was fifth, sixth, seventh. So the seventh we just finished. The fifth was about 6 months ago we were there. And the Bodhisattva is a really good meditator, sitting up. And because his mind is so still, he can learn everything that the world knows and his mind doesn't move. So what does he learn? He learns trades. He can build. He's a contractor, right? He knows all the codes. So everything he builds passes. Or what else is he? He might be a mechanic, somebody who can repair engine beings, right? Really good at that. Or the person is so skillful at raising children that they're just, they're everybody's favorite mom. Bodhisattva learns all these things, and it lists medicine. Okay, what else? Oh, he learns poetry again, What else is he? Oh, this person is super good as a painter. He can do that. This one is really good with animals. He can train horses. He can heal sick puppies, So all these different things the Bodhisattva learns. Why does he learn them? So he can teach. That's what it said. It said he's really good at all those kinds of learning because why? He's going to need every one of those once he goes out to teach people. What's the point of teaching? Is to get people to get close, listen to him, open up, learn something, and progress. Ideally, think about it, step by step. Oh, maybe take refuge. Maybe take the precepts. Whoa, if you get somebody into refuge and precepts, they're pretty close to being on their own. You don't have to teach them so hard every day, right? Okay, let's look at an extreme. We're going to go into our own literature. Imagine what Erstor Bodhisattva has to do to teach living beings. Right? What's it like when there he is, right there. Notice the flames, the red glass, those are flames. And he's got that little green critter, the Si Bu Xiang, right? It's no fun teaching beings in the hells. But if you're Erstor Bodhisattva, he's the one on the right side, not Guan Yin, the other one there. If you're Erstor Bodhisattva, it's just a day's work. He's teaching what they can learn. But you don't apply what the devas can know when you're in the hells. And if you're in the heavens, you don't apply the devas or the hell lessons in the heavens, right? So think about, do I know what I'm talking about? No, I'm giving you 假设, it's not my realm. I'm giving you a hypothetical. But when I hear Fangbian Zhihui, what that says to me is, here is a really good teacher. Here's somebody who just knows. He just knows. He takes one look at you and he can take you the next step. Right? So, we, in Australia, there's the Buddha Dharma is new in Australia. And to say there are lots of families who have been Buddhist, know what it means to bow, for example? Nope, not. Brand new mostly. So here we have Gold Coast Dharma Realm, this really clean, fresh, new monastery there, and set in 20 acres of green, forest, bush, they call it, and these families come. And sometimes it's the mom, sometimes it's the dad, sometimes it's the teenagers, sometimes it's mom with kids, and they come and they listen and they meditate, they eat vegetarian food, and one by one, they want to take the next step, you know. And in the Sunday morning meditation class, the turnover is pretty high. There's new faces every week, and we get regulars, but then they'll go away for 3 months or 4 months, and then they'll come back. And so there's lots of exposure, and we're in a very nice part of the Gold Coast, so people drive in from Southport, and they drive in from Burleigh Heads, and they'll drive in from Currumbin, and meditate on a Sunday morning. It's church time, so Sunday morning is a good time to go meditate, right? Instead of going to church. So they come in, and of, let's say, 30 people who show up, 2 will come back and say, I hear you have lectures. Tell me about those lectures. They'll come in a lecture, and then out of 15 of those people, 1 will say, I'd like to become a refuge disciple. And so they take refuge in the traditional way. And then we say, okay, you can wear your robe if you like, and you know, you wear your black hai ching, the black robe, our style. And when they do, when they get, we have 3 or 4, I've got them in my mind, and I won't say their names because they might be listening. I don't want to embarrass them. I want to encourage them instead. But when these folks come to the next meditation wearing their black robe and their brown hai ching, they stand out. You know, because why? They look really, our word is, adorned. They look really handsome and like they know what they're doing. They look like Buddhists, you know. And the other folks are coming in for the first time, oh, look at you. And then when they talk like this, you know, yeah, Aussie folks, yeah. And they're definitely Australian, and they're looking very, very nice in their robes. And people are like, huh, what's different about you? You know. So bit by bit by bit, Buddhism is coming into Australia, into this new land. And I think it's always like this. At the edges, we're at the frontier. We're at the edge where 2,600 years of Dharma is meeting a new culture. You know, and who knows, maybe all of us here tonight and folks online, maybe we always show up at this point when the cultures are just kind of rubbing each other. Instead of what? Well, let's say, suppose you were born at the end of the Tang Dynasty. China had been Buddhist already for 1,000 years. If you showed up in the 10th century, China had been Buddhist, and the Tang Dynasty was the golden era, Huangjin Shidai, of Buddhism. You know, so everybody knows what Buddhism is then. It's standard. Just kind of like Thailand now, or Burma, or Sri Lanka, for example, you know. Korea, where Buddhism has been a long time. Taiwan is a Buddhist country, you know. But here we are in this new place where we're just the very beginning, the edge, right? The frontier of the Dharma. So it's really interesting to see, how does this Bodhisattva stand out so that people are drawn? What is it about the wisdom of blessings and virtue? You guang ming. There's light. I remember Shifu once, we asked him, because, okay, here are words that pop up all the time. Blessings, wisdom, blessings, virtue. Fu, de, zhi, hui. What are those 3 things? Well, blessings is probably punya in Sanskrit. Virtue sometimes is punya in Sanskrit. Sometimes they don't distinguish those. The wisdom is probably prajna, or maybe jnana, knowledge. We asked Shifu, Shifu, what is it? And he said, 就是一个光明嘛，一道光明. It's a light. Okay? What about that extraordinary kid in your class? Why were they smarter than you? What about that great athlete? Why was he so coordinated? Right? Those are the words we use. Well, genetics, we get the old argument. It's from the parents or it's in his nature. It's either nature or nurture. The parents brought it out, he's imitating his parents, it's not him, or it's really him and he's gifted and special. So he's smarter, faster. Okay, well, maybe a blend of the two, but when you meet somebody who you want to listen to and follow and learn from, what is it? Why do you pick that person to give more time to than somebody you meet on the bus or on BART? And why do you avoid some people? Maybe it was grandma. Maybe you had a really good grandma. Why was that? Well, it's just the way she told us. I just like being around her. Some people, like their grandparents, they're so close to them, they just kind of cling to their clothes. Kids growing up, they just want to be next to them. They want to touch them. Because why? There's something, it's kind of like vitamins in the air vitamins, right? You don't have to look and you're still getting fed by it. Shifu would say, I think it's light. That's how he described Master Empty Cloud. He said, Shu Lao radiated something. Master Empty Cloud. Shu Yin Lao. He radiated something. From the back, you felt it, they said. And what is it? Well, at this point it sounds mysterious, right? Like, oh, what is that? It's only mysterious because you can't see it. But we know a lot of things that come through our feelings. Intuition, right? Just vibes. What do we call them? We know what it is when we see it. You know what it is when you see it. And Master Hua had that quality. Clearly. Shifu radiated stuff. And sometimes it felt like you were getting sunburned because of the intensity of the radiation. So that's what he has. And, okay, just to put this piece of the jigsaw puzzle, any jigsaw puzzle fans here, put the piece in there and suddenly the picture pops up. Where did this ability to do expedient wisdom come from and then get the wisdom of blessings and virtue? It came from 6. Ground 6 was where the Bodhisattva's ego broke away. Remember what was there? That was the 12 links of conditioned arising. And it explained ignorance, 无明缘行，行缘识，识缘名四，名谢缘六入，六缘处，处缘受，受缘爱, right? Those 12 links. What's going on inside when the Bodhisattva cultivates there is the self is no longer the me is gone at that point. That sense of I'm alone inside here and you're all outside me and I'm feeling kind of broken, that's gone at that point. The ego has been deconstructed to where it's really gone. And what does the Bodhisattva rebuild around at that point? Vows. Practices and vows. That's which paramita? Boromi. Prajna paramita. And what happens at that point is they say the 2 levels of truth. Ordinary truth is real, I'm still me, but there's another level of truth that opens at that point, which is what? I'm connected to everybody. And I'm not the me the way I used to be. I have vows to save living beings, and I have practices which keep the cultivation and the merit flowing. That's what happens at 6, right? Am I making sense? I don't know if people are following. But that was the experience at 6. The self is gone, but there's something new. And so when we get to 7, the next step, the Bodhisattva is able to appear in any way he wants to or she wants to teach. You can formulate at 7, and he does. Remember, we heard all this in the 7th ground. The Bodhisattva looks at living beings and builds a body to suit them, teaches them, and then we assume gives it back, lets it go. Okay, so now we're one step further into the process. And now this Bodhisattva is able to do stuff that superheroes can't imagine. It just occurred to me, Wonder Woman is the hot movie at the moment. There's this new film out, Wonder Woman. I haven't seen it. I don't know if I will see it, but it's got really, really, really good reviews. And they say it's another superhero film in the line of Marvel stuff. And what people say about this movie is that it's humanity. It's humane. And the director was a woman. And it's the first superhero film directed by a woman. And they say that people like it because Wonder Woman comes out like a human being. So that's interesting. Look at our superhero. This is a story of a superhero in our sutra. And it's not fantasy. It's not Marvel Comics selling you comic books. This is the Avatamsaka Sutra saying, you have it in you if you want to cultivate it. I have it in me if I want to cultivate it. This is another Dharma door. This is a Tao. This is a path. Okay? Okay. Turn over, please, everybody. Page 8 and 9. 好吧，讲完了第一段. But we're not done with the description. Okay, everybody find it? Here we go. Mine is smaller print. Here we go. 善清净诸道，善集诸道法，大愿力所摄，如来力所加。自善力所持，常念如来力，无所谓，不共佛法，善清净身心思觉，能成就福德智慧，大慈大悲，不舍众生，入无量智道。Good. Stop. Okay. Let's see here. We pick up on 9 here. We just pick up halfway through the sentence, so it's after a comma. All right, so let's read together if you choose to. Skillfully purified all ways and skillfully accumulated dharmas that aid the way. He is supported by great vows, aided by the Tathagata's strength, supported by the strength of his own goodness, and through constant mindfulness of the Tathagata's powers, fearlessnesses, and dharmas special to a Buddha. Long sentence. Continue. He has also skillfully purified deep thoughts and awareness. Because of great kindness and compassion, he does not abandon sentient beings, and he masters the way of limitless wisdom. Boy. All right. When I was summarizing the 7th ground, talking about expedient wisdom, the key to the last half of the chapter was that this Bodhisattva could enter nirvana, but he doesn't. That kept coming back over and over again. This Bodhisattva could quit, but she doesn't. She keeps on going. Nirvana was accessible from the 7th ground. 从第七地可以入涅槃, but you don't. Some do. Now, that's interesting. Some do, but this Bodhisattva doesn't. Instead, because of this sensitivity to suffering, says, I'm not done. I gotta stick around. I gotta find a way to help the others out. Right? Pretty good. Now, look at this paragraph here. Wow, what a list. What a list of qualities. This is just the opening lines of the 8th ground. Di Ba Di, first introduction. It's telling us what this Bodhisattva is like. What does our superhero do? What does he do? The Chinese and English, we mix the order, so let's look at the Chinese just to give a sense of it. Okay? And there's an adverb here, which is shan, that comes back 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 times. And it means to be good at. We say skillfully. Just in English we say good at. He's good at doing it. Really does this really well. What is he good at doing? 清净如道. All right. Challenge to translate. 清净如道. The verb again, the engine on the train is to purify. Word by word it says he purifies the paths, plural. Purifies all roads. You don't purify a path. It makes no sense whatsoever, right? What does it mean? Purity here, to purify, I don't think it means like wash. Although it could if you said, all right, talking to myself in a corner here. What does it mean to purify a path? A path would be, suppose the Bodhisattva decides to teach somebody the Dharma, to wake them up, and he knows how to do it. She knows how to do it. So she appears in that form and starts to teach. You can't half do it. You have to be totally in that form. So it could mean you perform that role to the ultimate point. Purify means that. You completely, let's say, in order to teach, you're going to come back as a special needs teacher in the classroom. Okay. All right. Some people want to do that. So in order to make that happen, you can't do it halfway. You got to really put your heart in it, or else what? The kids will pick up on it. They'll know you're maybe what? Afraid of them a little bit. Maybe you're what? Kind of looking down on them. You feel you're better than they are, which what do? Turn you off. You're done. You can't teach them, right? Maybe you're like bored because you've been doing it too long, and they pick up on that, right? You can't have any doubts. If you have doubts, you have not 清净这个道. You haven't purified that path. Another way to say it would be, taking it to the ultimate point. Taking it to the max. That's what we say in English. You took it to the max. That's 清净, I think. That's what it means. And in the context of the Bodhisattva, the 7th stage, who is really good at teaching in all different ways, right? You do it. You purify it. We saw, I remember, somebody who purified the path. Earlier we mentioned high school disciplinarians. Don Sharp, bless his heart, Mr. Sharp. Sharpe. Don Sharp was our vice principal in my high school. He was the disciplinarian. And Don Sharp was an ex-Marine. And his spine, his posture was, just like a drill sergeant, like that. He was absolutely straight. And he had these eyebrows that curled up. They turned up. And he had a way, he didn't walk, he marched down the hall. And he always wore this totally immaculate suit. The tie was just, perfect. And he prided himself. He was a Marine, basically, although he was a high school and a assistant principal in a public high school, Toledo. And he would go down the hallway like this, and he wouldn't turn his head, he would just move his eyes to watch you as you went by. And kids would sweat immediately. As soon as you passed Don Sharp, you're like, he knows everything I've done bad. Immediately, And he was the one who would deliver the whacks if you needed to get disciplined. But he was fair. Everybody knew if you hadn't done it, he knew you hadn't done it, and you wouldn't get whacked, and he would find out who had done it and whack. So he was this kind of guy who was absolutely in the role of total disciplinarian, and kids straightened up around him. Just one look at him, and you kind of went, "Morning, Mr. Sharp." His eyes would follow you, And he and I got along really well. I was the student council president my senior year, and he, I used to ask his advice and really mean it. I wasn't sucking up to him. I really wanted to know how to do things, and he would give me some. He'd check it out to see if I was sincere, and then he would give me some advice. And I remember when I won the election, and I was walking this way, and here comes Mr. Sharp, and passed me in the hall, and I was kind of watching his eyes, and he went. He winked. Out of his eyes, his face never moved. His eyes going, he winked like that. Like, oh, I felt like, whoa, what a kind gesture, just a wink, And then he was the wrestling coach as well. He used to wrestle. We had freestyle and Greco-Roman wrestling in our high school, and I didn't wrestle much. I didn't have the build for it. But when Don Sharp retired, he and his wife, I also got to know his wife, when they retired, because he was the age to retire, I went back to visit him and his wife at his house. And here was Don Sharp off duty, and he wasn't wearing a suit and tie, but his golf shirt was impeccable. It was just perfect, not a speck of dust. And he and his wife were so happy that somebody had come back to say hello, And what a fine man he was. So there's somebody who, he was the assistant principal to the Max, and wow, Qing Jing Zhu Dao. There's an example of somebody who really lived into that role. And when he showed up on the scene, everybody calmed down and held their breath because they didn't want to be guilty. They didn't want to be the one he took into the office, finally. But if you hadn't done anything wrong, he knew, and you were fine. That's the kind of man who society can build on somebody like that. Culture can stand on somebody like that. And we always had the feeling around Shifu, around Master Hua, that he didn't go for pastel colors. Green was green, red was red, yellow was yellow, blue was blue, and black and white were black and white. And this was on the level of right and wrong, virtue. He would always, you knew where you stood around Master Hua. And that doesn't mean he couldn't bend. He was really good at bending. And ultimately green and red and yellow and blue are just changes of light. He owned the rainbow, all the colors, including black and white. But he had that same quality of clarity on the fundamentals. The true and the false are not confused from that point of view. And it was such a relief to be able to say, on one hand, it's all relative. On one hand, it's entirely empty. And it doesn't matter because why? It's not going to last. But on the other hand, while we're here in this body at the same time together, there are rules. And this is how it works. That was the feeling around Don Sharp, and I recognized that same quality in Shifu, or the other way around. I met Don Sharp first when I was just, 15 years old. But Shifu had that same quality of effortlessly knowing right from wrong and not ever confusing them. That was good. Now, as I say it, I can hear people saying, "Oh, well, what a judgment! It's so hard." No. If something's alive, it's alive. If something's dead, it's dead. There's a difference, And let's look at that second one. Shanji Zhu Dao Fa. Good at gathering together zhu dao fa. Let's learn that phrase. Dharmas that aid the way. I really like that one. This Bodhisattva is shan. The verb is ji, bringing together, collecting. What are zhu dao fa? Dharmas that aid the Tao. In other words, things that help you cultivate. Got a really good one? Exercise. Particularly Tai Chi, for example, because that's in our medicine bag around here. Today we went to the 1 year memorial for Master Jiang Yunzhong, Jiang Shifu, Jiang Yunzhong, our Zhonghua Wenwu Shuiyuan founder in El Cerrito, and he passed on a year ago. And this was a painting exhibit down in San Jose, and all of the family, the whole family gathered, all the Wenwu family, including Zhang Shimu, Hui Liu Shifu, Madam Jiang, and their kids and all. And I spoke and told people that from the Wenwu studio, 3 left home people came through the doors of Wenwu directly to Gold Mountain Monastery. Marty being one of them, Heng Chao, Heng Liang being another one, Heng Liang Shi, and Mo Kaplan, who became Guar. And many other people, you know. We think of Locke, for example, our Dharma brother Locke, who is still a teacher at Wenwu School. Many people have benefited by the teaching of Master Jiang. And what did Shifu say? Shifu said, Tai Chi Chuan is a Dharma that aids the way, helps you cultivate. Okay, why? Because it exercises the body, moves the qi in a harmonious and balanced way, and it is considered neigong. It's internal martial arts. It's not waigong. What is waigong? Shotokan karate. I'm going to now break that board. Bang! Right? And Taekwondo, the Korean martial arts. Taekwondo is an external martial arts. You know, how hard you hit, how tough your knuckle is, how high you kick. Now, those are all good, fine, wonderful forms. They're not what's called neigong. Tai Chi develops internal yin and yang in harmony and balance according to principle. Okay, there are these basic principles of Tai Chi Chuan, the way Master Jiang taught it at Wenwu. And he gave 19 basic principles about hard and soft, about balancing, elbow to knee, hand to foot, shoulder to hip, and speed and slow, etc. So this is a quote, exercise, yeah, it's for health, but it's more than that, it's a Dao. There's a path there in the way he taught Tai Chi Chuan. And when we practice something like Tai Chi Chuan, yoga, similar, not quite the same, can be learned the same way. When we practice that, what happens? Your cultivation progresses. You cultivate better the dharmas of stillness when you balance it with movement that has principle. So there is a zhu dao zhi fa. Okay, another big one. What's another dharma that aids the way? Eating a plant-based, harmless, cruelty-free diet. Definitely. If we can eat in a way that, number one, doesn't increase killing karma for me or for the creature that I kill. Number two, foods that go into the body and don't leave all the residue that dead flesh leaves. Now, especially something that's been raised in a factory farming environment, right? We do better. It aids the way. helps you cultivate. I had this amazing awareness. I made a vow when I was bowing to the highway that I was going to get rid of dairy in my diet. And it was just, I was making a lot. I did one on sugar for a while, and I did one on all kinds of seasoning for 10 years. I didn't eat any flavored food for 10 years. Not recommended. And I did cut out dairy at one point. And so I guess it was about 5 years. And then I went back. I said, well, it's time to let that one go. I'll start drinking milk again, eating ice cream and butter and yogurt and cheese. And as soon as I put dairy, cow's milk products back into my system, I found my body got sticky. Hard to describe. This is unscientific language, mind you. This is not a study. And there are many monks and nuns, including Master Hua, who did drink milk. But I found that when I drank milk, I got an extra layer of stuff in my bloodstream, but also in my eyes. That sounds funny, but drinking milk, I found that I would look at something and realize I didn't want to look at it, and I had to pull my eyes back instead of just a thought. There was something in my system that made it sticky. And, that makes no sense to somebody who hasn't experienced that. But that's the best way for me to describe it. I got rid of the dairy, and it was like effortlessly that was gone. And I realized, I do better without that stuff in my system. Now what? I'm a celibate monastic who meditates a lot. Okay? I'm not trying to raise a family. I'm not trying to start a business. I don't find myself behind the wheel for So I'm saying, for me, for you, if you prefer dairy products from cows, then that's up to you. Don't take it from me. But I'm saying my experience has been that I do much better without cow's milk in my system. And who would have thought? And that's the experience. It's sticky. Funny, huh? And boy, if I get I drank, what was it, a latte somebody handed me that had milk in it. Big mouthful of a milk-based latte, and wow! Now, not having touched dairy for like 12 years, it makes a huge difference now. I'm super sensitive to it, and I was raised a milk-drinking Ohio boy, so funny, huh? Dharmas that aid the way, 助道之法. 善济助道之法. Good at collecting dharmas that aid the way. What's another dharma that aids the way? Simplicity. Cut back on the stuff. And this is Northern California, 2017. Most of us have stuff. If I were in India, where I was just a few months ago, when I say cut back on stuff, I'm talking to people who don't have a lot of stuff, for whom this doesn't make sense at all. What do you mean cut back on stuff? But we have a lot of stuff. Oh my goodness. We have garage sales. What's a garage sale in Australia? Jerry, anybody want to type it in for me in the chat box? Any Australian? What's a garage sale? Or if you go to a flea market, what do they call it in Australia? Car boot sale. C-A-R-B-O-O-T, car boot. It's a car boot sale. Car boot. What's the boot? Trunk. The car trunk sale. So just fun fact, you can just write that one down. Car boot sale. Garage sale. Okay, because you roll your trunk up, you roll your car up, open the trunk, and sell this stuff. Car boot sale, right? You want to check me on that, Jerry? Okay, so car boot sale. So, my God, car boot sales, what happens in car boot sales? We have one of the Dharma friends I was mentioning in Australia who wears the Hai Ching and the brown robe. does car boot sales, and she described the situation. You show up at the designated empty field. They have some places, they do it regularly every week. You show up, and 3 a.m., the first wave of car boot sale experts go by with their flashlights, check your stuff out, maybe buy one item and move on down. That's illegal. You're supposed to wait until 7, but they go through at 3 and skim off the best stuff in case you have, what's the show? What's the show? What's it called? Antique Roadshow. Antique Roadshow, right, where they go in and check out, is this a real, Thomas Jefferson writing desk or something like that. Okay, so the experts go through at 3 a.m. with their flashlights, quickly go over your stuff and kind of sneak away. And if they see something that you got that is a real, how much? They pay you double for it. And then sun rises and then the car boot folks come through. There are people who simply live from car boot sale to car boot sale because why? Too much stuff. We just, that's what you do, is you deal with stuff. Dharma that aids the way, a little less. A little less. Challenge yourself. What is the minimum? How much do I need to really get through the day without spending so much time on stuff? Every bit that we can let go of leaves a space that is filled in by Spirit. The stuff chokes. Speaking as somebody who's got a lot of stuff. Somehow it's just in my horoscope, you might say, or maybe because I do it, it's my horoscope. Don't know how it works, but I tend to I have Jupiter in the second house, square Mercury. If anybody's keeping track, nobody's keeping track? Okay, never mind. I didn't say it. So, a lot of stuff. Won't go there in detail, but how much do we need? How much do we really need? Okay? Every bit that we can let go of, that's how much Spirit fills in behind it. Okay? On 3 Steps, 1 Bow, stuff Marty and I had 2 things I couldn't let go of. Shifu said, before we started, don't take anything that anybody wants, because you'll lose it. That's what he said. Don't take anything good that anybody wants, because you'll lose it, he said. Yeah, Shifu. Okay. So what did he mean? Stolen. Stolen. Because why? We lived in a 1957 Plymouth station wagon that had a couple curtains on the window, and for hours every day the car was sitting right there while the 2 monks who lived there were out, we were sitting ducks. Okay. So what did I have? 2 things that I really liked. One was a zafu. It was a zafu that I had brought from Japan. An official Soto Zen zafu with a nice handle cover, you could zip it off and wash it. It's really nice zafu. And I really liked it. And I thought, it's a monk's meditation cushion, no resale value, who wants that? And sure enough, 3 weeks after we set out, we were still in LA, came back one evening and car door was ajar, look inside, no zafu. Somebody liberated me of my need to have a zafu, and I'm thinking, wow, that's really low, man. Somebody stole a monk's zafu. And then the other thing that I had that I really, really liked was a Sierra Designs 60-40 coat. Anybody have a 60-40 jacket? 60% something, 40% something. Sierra Designs. It was one of the first Berkeley-based outdoor supplier companies. This is before North Face ever, well, they came in at the same time. Sierra Designs, North Face, and there was a third one. trail-wise, ski hut. Those are the three. REI was, 15 years in the future. So it was a 60/40 coat. It had a hood, had Velcro cuffs, and I'd had it for 2 years before I left home. Really liked it, and it was waterproof, and it would still breathe. It was really nice, and I could put it under my robe. So the hood was up. And it kept me dry and warm and out of the wind, which is the worst for me, was the wind. And so I really liked it, and every time I put it on, in the back of my ear, I heard Sherpa say, "Don't take anything that anybody might want, because you're going to lose it." Oh no, it's just, I need this, Sure enough, hot day, couldn't wear it, out bowing, came back, we were in Ventura. Ventura, came back, car door was ajar, looked inside, gone. Somebody took it. And that was my last good thing. Everything else was really stuff that nobody wanted. And guess what? We kept it, no more theft. Nobody wanted the rags, we're down to rags. What did we need? We needed a roof that didn't leak, and it leaked. And we had mold growing, and we had actual, clover growing inside the car, spores and stuff. And we need food, we need clothes, and medicine when you're sick. And we had our sutra, and we had an incense burner. It was a coffee can, and we had a picture of Shifu. And that was it, And didn't lose it, because nobody, look inside, nothing in there, Sure enough, Shifu said, "Don't take anything anybody else wants, because you'll lose it." Wise words. So the question is, and the punchline is, getting rid of those two things, I didn't see them either. What did I meditate on? I rolled up another jacket. A jacket appeared kind of miraculously 24 hours later, just kind of showed up. Somebody offered it. I sat on that. Didn't need this fancy zafu. And the 60/40 coat, every time I put it on, I was really aware of it. My thoughts went to it, Not having it didn't stick anywhere. I was liberated from the two things that I liked. Who would think that the stuff you like clings to you? Right? You won't let it go, you wind up holding it. Oh. And I would never have let those go if somebody hadn't helped me out, by taking them away. I would have clung, and you don't know, who would think, You own it, it owns you. Interesting. So dharmas that aid the way, a little less. What are the things we're clinging to that actually own us? It's the question. If you're a monk, not very much, right? We got it down, unless you collect stuff, cameras, guitars, who knows? What do you collect, So, yeah. So, that's interesting. Here, yeah, Phil.
Those are physical things? How about mental things?
Troublemaker. We don't collect those, do we? Yeah, of course. You're right. Phil has said, what about mental things? That's the hardest. That's harder still. Right? I mean, that's the whole story. Is what are called Shi Qi Mao Bing, habits and faults. In the Sixth Patriarch lecture that I do on Friday mornings here, we're talking about the Sixth Patriarch is interviewing a monk called Fa Da. Fa Da Fa Shi. What did he do? He recited the Lotus Sutra 3,000 times. And he was proud of it. He was so proud when he bowed down, his head didn't touch the ground. Okay, this is in the chapter called Lively Encounters, Yin Yopin. And so, Sixth Patriarch, can't read the Lotus Sutra. So he says, okay, he says, read it to me. I'll tell you what it means. And so Fa Da reads the Lotus Sutra. Sixth Patriarch says, stop. Stop. He says, what's it about? It's about why the Buddha came. The Buddha came in order to initiate to display, to embody, to wake up to and embody the Buddha's zhi jian, knowledge and viewpoints. That's why the Buddha came. That's what the Buddha is all about. He wants us to do those four things. Kai shi wu ru fo de zhi hui zhi jian, he says. To four things. And then he says, if you don't want to learn those four, here's what it is. The Buddha's wisdom is complete in you. That's it. That's what the Buddha wants us to know. Okay? And so that's the Buddha's Zhi. And so Phil's question is, what about things in our heads, in our minds, that we don't let go of? Everything we don't let go of is not the Buddha's knowledge and viewpoints, knowledge and perspectives. Buddha's knowledge and perspective says we're full inside already. Anything that we grab, we have to let go of. If you pick it up, you got to set it down. But we don't. And here's another kind of language for it. What do we take refuge in? Money? We cling to money. It's now down to 5. Right? This week, it used to be 6 or was it 8 men whose total wealth was the equivalent of 50% of the world. Now it's 5. There are 5 men in the world, according to Forbes, who, if you total up all the money they have, it is the accumulated value of 50% of the world's population. 5 men. It used to be like 100, just a few years ago. They said, oh, you add up all, and 100 people, their money is, no, 5 people. And you count them, you know. Of course, you start with Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg and Jeff Bezos and who's the fellow in Mexico? There are 2 in Mexico, actually. What's his name? Has an interesting name. What is it? Yeah, I should know his name. He's one of the 5 richest people in the world. Right? Okay, Carlos Swift or Sharp or Sweet or something like that. Anyway, okay, what is it? Slim, Carlos Slim. Yes, S-L-I-M, correct. Thank you. So, 5 people. What are they hanging on to? Everything. You know. That's when you got that imbalance so that it's so vertical and so narrow, what's going to happen? It's going to fall. Because the base isn't, you know. Suppose, and Bill Gates is trying hard to give his money away. Carlos Slim is a fine man, you know. What if they gave it so that their share came down and everybody else's share, you know. So yeah, Phil, we cling to stuff. Money, we cling to money. We take refuge in money. Everybody else wants to be one of those 5 instead of saying, oh, I got what I need. Here, you take some. You need more. You know. Humans can go either way. We can be greedy to the extent that we'll destroy ourselves, and we can be kind and compassionate and generous. We have that capacity for both, and it depends on what we see. We become what we behold. And if we had movies cranked out all the time about generosity, we would be more generous. If we had leaders in public places who were kind and compassionate and thoughtful about others' needs, we would behave that way. You know, so my goodness, humanity is not doing well to ensure our sustaining future on the planet. We're just not doing well. You know, and we're taking everybody with us. There are some bright signs, like, for example, China has been banning ivory, the sale of ivory. It'll take a while to trickle down to Africa, where people are still killing elephants every day. The last rare elephants on the planet are being slaughtered for their tusks. China has said we're officially not allowing ivory to be sold. So there's some sense that maybe that'll come down to where the poachers won't kill them anymore? But there aren't many left. Graciela.
Like working with our youth, one of the hardest things for me, I'm not sure if it was going on during your time as well, it's just that.
My time, hey, wait a minute. My time.
Well, no, but the social
Back in the days of, yeah, go ahead.
No, but social media has as a norm, like the Kardashians or like this wealth, like everyone's life. So a lot of the youth believe that's the reality, that all of us are supposed to live that way, and somehow there's this really big dissatisfaction because their life isn't like that. They don't get to go on these trips or have this money or this, swimming pool or this mansion, and so there's a really belief that that's what everyone is like, and somehow they're the only ones that, we're not like that. So somehow we're really poor or missing out, and that dissatisfaction is so great.
Yeah.
It's like an illusion. I'm like, that's an illusion. It's not real, but to them it is. With the music and with the constant bombard on TV with these reality shows, it's been pretty intense.
I hear you. Yeah, Graciela is talking about the reality that social media creates, and kids look at it and think that's the way it should be. It's time actually to stop. That's, by the way, Dharma Masters here. If anybody wants to have a great instant lecture topic, if you're on the spot, dharmas that aid the way. That's a great topic to pick out. 诸道之法. And not all are, but think of the ones that we have. If it's according to principle and it opens up and fertilizes your Bodhi mind, could be a 诸道之法, dharmas that aid the way. We'll continue next week with our description of the Bodhisattva in the 8th ground. This is that first picture of who he is, who she is. And then we're going to find out about what's it like to learn to become the Bodhisattva on the 8th ground. And here's, following up on Graciela's comment about how easy it is to hear the story of the marketplace and think that that's the way reality really works. Did anybody catch the horrible sign of the times? This is 2 days ago. There's a 19-year-old in Texas who had a shotgun in his hands, jumped in a truck with a buddy who was driving around, and rolled down the window and randomly shot a cyclist, blew the person off the bike, and when asked why, he said, I had to blow off some steam some way. That was his answer. He just had to blow off some steam. So he shot a cyclist and wound up, I think the person lived, but there's some question of whether they'll ever be functioning again, because some of the shotgun pellets wound up in the brainstem. And I looked at the face of this young man, and he was a spoiled rich kid. Somebody who grew up in this, where they had probably by age 14 had seen how many 20,000 murders on TV, or done it themselves in video games. It's just no surprise, because we train in video games to kill, first-person shooters and all. There's no bloodshed. And as soon as you're done, it's over. There's no ambulance, there's no weeping moms, pets without the owner to come home to. And this kid, that's his reality. It felt like it just blew off some steam. That's our world. That's, wrong. That's wrong. Destroying life because we can is destruction, and it comes back. So I saw it, that was like, yeah, we're in trouble. When we created that kind of young man, that those values are out there. Okay, it is time to transfer the merit, and transfer it to ourselves so that we can wake up sooner and bring some of these traditional sutra values to life in our world. Starts with us. So dedication of merit, make a wish. They're not entirely sure how many people died in the high-rise fire in London, Grenville high-rise. It's now 53, and they think maybe they will never know how many people died. It's a great tragedy for the British because they've had to wake up to lax or different standards of public security, depending on the neighborhood. And so it's a tragic loss, but probably it will result in more scrutiny, more oversight. Anyway, that's some place we can transfer our merit, certainly, to those souls who... We talk about the precepts for the deceased, the Oming-jia. That's the kind of story that creates the the souls who can't find their way back. So we transfer the merit, cross them over. As one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can find in giving unity, our minds away to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light dispel the darkness of their endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. Right. So, would you please take your songbook and turn to page 26. Jerry, how many folks online tonight? 17. Okay. Around 30 total, coming and going. Okay. Okay. This is a song about great strength, Bodhisattva, written by Marty, former Heng Chao. And it goes, my Dharma friends gather round, I'll sing to you a song about a Bodhisattva whose name is Super Strong. With a burst of blazing light, he opened eyes, asleep and blind, because Super Strong's Kung Fu was the power of his mind. Okay, this is talking in the context of our superhero in the 8th ground. Now, Super Strong was awesome, but his heart was solid kind. All suffering and disasters I'll end for all mankind. Evil and injustice I'll find a way to fight. But all the Buddhas told him, don't fight. Return the light. So here's the chorus, and we'll sing this twice. It's two stanzas. Super Strong's inside you. Cultivate with all your might. Pure thoughts continue. Don't fight. Return the light. Throughout the Dharma realm, you can hear great strength proclaim. 6 senses gather back. Recite the Buddha's name. Okay, anybody who's a scholar of the Shurangama Sutra will recognize that. Anybody, right off the bat? Shurangama Sutra, where does that happen? This teaching. Great strength bodhisattvas, perfect understanding, not penetration, perfect understanding through returning the hearing. So, I'm sorry, you're correct. You're absolutely correct. I said it wrong. Guanyin Bodhisattva is returning the hearing. Great strength Bodhisattva is through Nianfo. Okay, let's see, it's Argun Yuan Tong. I corrected you because penetration is an old translation, right? Yuan Tong, Argun Yuan Tong. Perfect Tong understanding, perfect comprehension. You get it completely through the ear organ. That's the teaching here, and that's what Marty was working on. So this is a song based on the Shurangama Sutras. It's called the Great Strength Bodhisattva's Dharma method of turning the hearing, it's close to Guanyin, it's not Guanyin. It's returning the hearing organ to, I said it wrong again, I fooled myself. Through mindfulness of the Buddha, Nianfo, that's the way it's done. So he gathered in, last paragraph now, he gathered in his stealing eyes, his ears, his nose and tongue, tamed his mind and body, and when all the work was done, a blinding blaze of light shot forth from toe to crown, because he plugged into the source, tried his best, and put it down. Good verse, huh? Chorus. Super Strong's inside you, cultivate with all your might. Pure thoughts continue, don't fight, return the light. Throughout the Dharma realm, you can hear great strength proclaim. 6 senses gather back, recite the Buddha's name. Okay, then we got more verses here. Guanyin and Amitabha with Super Strong join hands. Riding vows made long ago, they roam the western land. Now spirits curl their tails, and dragons fold their hands. Tigers crouch in corners, and ghosts obey commands. Ain't no better thing to do than saving all mankind. Come to the Buddha city, bowing with a single mind. The world is ripe and waiting. Can't you see that now is the time? Come to the Buddha city, bowing with a single mind. So you see the reference to the pilgrimage that's snuck into this song back then, huh? You'll get the melody quick and join with me if you feel moved to do so. My Dharma friends gather round, I'll sing to you a song about a Bodhisattva whose name was Super Strong. With a burst of blazing light, he opened eyes asleep and blind. 'Cause Super Strong's Kung Fu was the power of his mind. Now Super Strong was awesome, but his heart was solid kind. All suffering and disasters I'll end for all mankind. Evil and injustice I will find a way to fight. But all the Buddhas told him, don't fight, return the light. Super strong's inside you, cultivate with all your might. Your thoughts continue, don't fight, return the light. Throughout the Dharma realm, you can hear great strength proclaim. Six senses gather back, recite the Buddha's name. Six senses gather back, recite the Buddha's name. So he gathered in his stealing eyes, his ears, his nose, his tongue, tamed his mind and body, and when all the work was done, a blinding blaze of light shot forth from toe to crown, 'cause he plugged into the source, tried his best and laid it down. Super strong's inside you, cultivate with all your might. Your thoughts continue, recite, don't turn the light. Throughout the Dharma realm, you can hear great strength proclaim. Six senses gather back, recite the Buddha's name. Six senses gather back, recite the Buddha's name. Guan Yin and Amitabha with super strong join hands. Riding boughs made long ago, they roam the western land. Dragons curl their tails and spirits fold their hands. Tigers crouch in corners and ghosts obey commands. Now there ain't no better thing to do than saving all mankind. Come to the Buddha city, bowing with a single mind. The world is ripe and waiting, can't you see that now's the time? Come to the Buddha city, bowing with a single mind. Do the chorus one more time. Super strong's inside you, cultivate with all your might. Your thoughts continue, don't fight, return the light. Throughout the Dharma realm, you can hear great strength proclaim. Six senses gather back, recite the Buddha's name. Six senses gather back, recite the Buddha's name. Namo Ami Tofo. There we go. That's the Ballad of Super Strong. So Marty never sings that song, and we have to sing it for him. Okay, now coming up next week in the sutra is lists. The next thing that we hear about, why the Bodhisattva has the wisdom of blessings and virtue, is because of his, what do they say? The 十力四无为十八不共法, the 10 powers of the Buddha, the 4 fearless dharmas, 4 features of fearlessness, and the 18 dharmas special to a Buddha. So I have a choice when we go over it, which is to name it and move on, or open it up. And I think we're going to go into them a little bit next week. It's a list, and the lecturer has a job to either, very reliably, every time the 10 dharmas of the Buddha, the 10 Buddha's powers come up, number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. We get to number 9 and people are like, yeah, I can't remember so many, Or just say 10 powers of the Buddha, we've lectured on them before, and go ahead, So I think it's been a while since we talked about these lists, so we're going to do those next week. You'll get to hear some traditional formal lecture pedagogy, some standard techniques, and our wisdom of the Dharma will increase, will grow. Right? Heng what are the 10 powers of the Buddha? Can you give me one of them? Jin Chuan, 1. Where all paths lead. There we go. Knowledge of where all paths lead. 一切知道之处. Okay, what does it mean? What are the 10 powers of the Buddha? They are teaching tools. He got them in the 6th and 7th ground. What are they? If you have that power that the Buddhas have, when someone you want to teach takes one step, you know exactly where it's going to wind up. So you can steer them, you can encourage them or say, no, don't do that. How about that? Imagine, with the first step, you know, because, like, okay, who can do that? Chess players. Any chess players here? Junqi. Anybody play chess? You a chess player? You're this kind of a chess player. All right, that probably means really good, right? So, yeah, chess players? Okay, there are expert chess players who you move the pawn, they know the game. Because there's only a certain number of possible, 6,000 possible moves, and they know them every one, And so there are people like that. The Buddha, with his wisdom, they're called wisdom powers, 十种智慧之力. The Buddha sees you take your first step and goes, here we go again. How many times are you going to do that, And then tries to get you to move slightly to the left. That's 1 out of 10. Okay? Clue and a hint, they include 2 of the 5 psychic powers as well. The heavenly ear and the heavenly eye. The Deva ear and the Deva eye. That's 2 of the 10 as well. So, yeah, they're very cool, those 10 wisdom powers. I didn't ask Heng Jiang and I didn't ask Jinfo. Next time. Okay. Do you know 佛的10种智? Okay. 金佛是知道吗？佛的10种智慧力量. Okay. You're in good, so it's only the smart kid. He's the one you hated in the class, remember? Yeah. Oh, God. No. We don't. We need to applaud his knowledge. Yeah. There you go. You got some marks for that. See? How about that? The lists are eternal. The lists never, this is the Buddha Dharma. And there's actually, we don't slide those glass doors open very often, but on the bottom shelf, there is a book there entirely of lists in the Buddha Dharma. One of our reference books is here in the bottom shelf. You can see it. It's called the what's it called? Fa Men Ne Song, Wangla. But it's some clever monk or nun said, these lists come up so often, I'm going to put them all together. So you can access it through the numbers. The 1s of these, the 2s of these, the 3s of these, the 4 of these, the 5, the 6, up into the, what is it, the 100 Dharmas of the Sarvastivadins, and on and on. The entire book is lists. Really good resource. Now, what did I do? I saw it was coming up, so I went online. And I got the 10 wisdom powers, the 4 fearlessnesses, and the 18 dharmas special to the Buddha. Thank goodness for Wikipedia, So, yep. Okay, what do we have to announce for people to know?
I think we just have mostly our retreats coming up.
Okay.
I think Buddha Root Farm is probably full already.
It is.
But that will be the first week of July, followed by a week of Guanyin retreat, Guanyin session at the 10,000 Buddhas. So if you have a week free and you want to do some kind of practice, the Guanyin retreat is still available that people can sign up. You can go to drbux.org. That's Dharma Realm Buddhist University Extension. And then the 4th week of July, we have a retreat in Sudana Center, led by Dharma Master Heng Sure and Doug Powers. It's on, I can't ever say her name. Irigare and Nagarjuna Bodhisattva. That's you can say the topic. And it's going to be an exploration of generosity and compassion. I think all the women's spots are filled because of the housing situation. I think there might be 2 or 3 men's spots left. That might be full as well. But if you're really interested and you're a guy, please sign up as soon as possible.
And probably some people will drop out it happens, and so
Yeah.
maybe you can get on a waiting list if you really want to go.
Yeah, and I think that's it. And then moves into August. We have ordination. Heng Sure will be back with a new name, and the school year semester will start again.
Okay. All right. So, Master, any questions or comments online, Jerry? People really like the talk? Oh, the song. People like the song. We'll pass that on to you. Not the talk. We didn't like the talk, but the song was great. I get it. So we'll tell Marty. Yeah. So there we go. Somebody like, yeah, that's the peanut gallery over there. That's good. So if people are interested in the trip to Europe, I believe there is 1 or 2 spots available. Jason, would you raise your hand? There's Jason. Talk to Jason. Folks online, email. Jerry, would you mind, could you know the link by any chance? Can you paste that in? If anybody's online and hearing about the trip to Europe for the first time, click on that link, you'll get the information. All right, if it's the Tao, cultivate it. If it's not the Tao, retreat from it. Pick what is useful in what you heard and cultivate it. Pick what is harmful and stupid and change it inside. 师道之进，非道在退，在善而从，不善而改。See you next week. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. Namo Da Fang Guang Hua Yin Ji Hua Yin Hai Po Fu Shan